Well, this farm system was, of course, a long time coming here on the breakdown of the call-up because it's always loaded. You got Aram Leighton, Jack McMullen. We're talking Tampa Bay Rays. And there was a relative lull for the Rays where maybe they were the fifth best farm system or sixth best farm system in baseball. They're right back to the top three. And in terms of depth, like this episode could be 3 hours. Jack's holding a one up like they're number one. I don't necessarily disagree. In terms of depth, like there's names that we are going to leave off just because we don't have time and this would be a feature film that probably would definitely be names to watch in most systems and probably top 15 in a lot of other systems. So it feels weird, Jack, that we're kind of like there's several names that I feel like would be discussed in other systems, but like for the sake of time, we got to talk about 25 really good prospects.
Let's play this game, man. And I do believe that they are the best system in baseball. And I think it's who else comes close as it stands right now with the top end talent. I understand that Boston is really good. Seattle, I understand that they're good, but I think they fall off a little bit depth wise. The Cubs have some depth. The Dodgers are good, but they fall off a little bit depth wise.
Yeah, the Dodgers aren't as deep. I would say they're just their top end talent carries them. Then Milwaukee's deep.
Milwaukee's deep. I personally, I value strength in numbers. Like I think quantity of really good prospect is more important than quality of great prospect. I think I'd rather have 7 top 100 guys than 3 top 20 guys.
Yeah.
But that's just me. So in terms of my line of thinking in depth, I think Tampa is number 1. I think Milwaukee is number 2. And then the Dodgers probably slot in at 3. But I do think that this is the best farm system in baseball. And I mean, to bolster your point, Cam Meisner and Jake Mangum 2 weeks ago are not sniffing this list. And those are 2 of the best hitters for the Tampa Bay Rays right now. Like it's unbelievable what they have to churn and burn. Aranda was on this list forever, and now he's leading Major League Baseball in OPS out of nowhere.
And he was never at the top of this list, right?
Ever.
So, and that's the thing too, is the Rays' ability to convert. And that's the big thing here is what was shocking to me. I'd never struggled more to figure out who the 13th and 14th and 15th ranked prospects are in a system because they have about 10, 45 to 45 plus future value guys, meaning they may not be superstars, but there's such high probability big leaguers that could fill a role, like several guys that you feel really good about pitching at leverage, several guys that you feel really good about at least being able to eat innings as a 5-starter, other guys that could be that utility infielder, like even the players, the prospects that you aren't dreaming on all-star upside are such high probability big league role players. And that's how you continue to filter talent up to the big leagues and get away with not spending when you can fill these roles in a cheap way and then spend in the spots where you want to spend. But that's the thing with all these names to watch, like a lot of 45 future value guys in the names to watch, which generally is like 40 plus or guys that you're dreaming on or just players that we haven't seen enough of yet. So we'll jump right into the names to watch. And the first one is actually one of the more intriguing names because it was a guy that I didn't have much familiarity with before. And I don't know about you, Jack.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. Owen Wild, a right-hander. What is he, draft eligible sophomore or no? He was a breakout sophomore and then his junior year, 7th round pick. But this guy, I mean, out of nowhere, low A, high A, 121 in the third innings at a 2.82 ERA. What's the word?
Crazy vert fastball, shocker. Cool. Good command. And I mean, it was just another one of those examples of a guy that, the command, the stuff kind of backed up a little bit in his second, and that's in that junior season, that draft year after breaking out in his second season. So the draft stock fell and the Rays found an opportunity here to identify, we know what went awry in that junior season. Let's get him right. They get him right. And he throws to a 2.82. And it was in low A and high A in 121 in the third inning. So this guy's already handling a massive workload. You've got the riding fastball that's getting like 20 vert from a below average release height. So, I mean, that's plus carry. And then you've got this mid-80s cutter that tunnels well off of it. If he had better secondaries, no doubt in the top 15, most other systems in the top 15, Wild is definitely a name to watch just on the fastball alone.
Yeah. Next one is Adrian Santana, Hialeah kid, 19-year-old, first-round pick in 2023, or first pick of the comp round in 2023 at a high school in Florida. This guy last year, his age 18 season, the entire year with Low A Charleston, was it a 604 OPS? Yes. He got on base at a 300 clip, and this guy still managed 51 stolen bases in 104 games. Is he an 80 grade runner?
He's damn near close. If I had, I need to see it in person and maybe like sync up the video to try to time it up. But from everything that I've seen and heard, like it seems like it. And then you also have an elite defensive shortstop here for his age, and potentially could be a Gold Glove talent. Like I think that's what they're dreaming on. I think that's why they drafted him, right? Like they knew the bat was going to be a work in progress. He was thin as a rail when they drafted him. It's a 5'9", 5'10" frame, but he's added some strength. And I mean, even if he's more of a slap hitter and uses speed, the glove is so damn good that you feel like he can at least be that Nazem Nunez type that serves a purpose and fills a role at the big league level. But I think the Rays are dreaming on more than that. They're hoping that he can grow into a little bit more impact. The bat to ball is pretty good. The approach is pretty good. But when you've got that speed and defense, there's a good chance you're filling a big league role one way or another.
I love the high probability 5 starters in this organization and in the farm system right now. And Joe Rock is an example of that. He was the trade return for Greg Jones from Colorado, 2 years ago? And Joe Rock last year, the entire year with AAA Durham, 139 and 2/3 innings. Yeah, he had a 4.58 ERA, but so far this year, 16 innings at a 3.38 ERA. This guy is eating a ton of innings, and he has that opportunity to just plug and play. Rock, Seymour, those have to be like the 7 and 8 on the depth chart in terms of the Rays starting pitching options right now.
Yeah, he was better than I thought the more I dove into it, too. Like, he really fills up the zone for a 6'6" lefty. And the stuff, is it great? No, but you get some good arm side run on the fastball. And then it's like this long arm action that gives you some built-in deception that I think is going to allow stuff to play up. But when you have this long arm action from a 6'6" frame, and then it's 18 inches of horizontal on the 2-seamer, the 4-seamer can kind of surprise you up at the top, and then gyro, slider, changeup. Even if all of these pitches are 45 to 50 grade, and you have a 6'6" lefty with some deception built in who fills up the zone, I think he could be a 5-starter, but definitely could be a guy that, is up and down. You plug him in and he gives you a shot to win. Is kind of that good break glass for emergency guy, but I think he has more potential than that. And it's been nice to see the way that he could develop into a potential good innings eater.
I think I'm a sucker for the Quebec to the SEC pipeline. I was huge on Edouard Julien, and Emilian Petrie is another guy that I really liked in college, and I don't know what it is. I think it's Quebecois guy goes south, plays baseball with people that don't speak French, and I find that funny. But Julien was a guy that obviously found it with Minnesota, and Julien is swinging a decent bat right now. Emilian Petrie, 22-year-old from a suburb just north of Montreal, second-round pick out of the University of Kentucky last year. And at Kentucky last year, guy hit over 300, got on base at a 420 clip, had 26 stolen bases in 62 games. And then in Charleston last year after the draft, 21 games at an 805 OPS. He walked more than he struck out. And so far this year, been so far so good. He's got 5 extra base hits in 11 games, and he's OPSing 863. This is a guy that probably is playing second base and could probably play second base in the big leagues next year.
Yeah, I mean, the glove for sure is there, and he can plug in. I think, being able to get by on the left side if needed is definitely helpful. He's a guy that's going to need to really hit, though. Like, the power is not going to be a big part of the game, so you're going to need to see that hit tool be closer to, plus than average, and right now it looks like it's a little bit closer to average. So that's the thing to monitor, because for that kind of profile to be an everyday big leaguer, going to need to hit. It's going to need to be a 55 hit tool. But I think he's got a chance to do that. And it'll be interesting to see his development as he goes there. But the fact that he can move around the infield, I think elevates the floor a little bit too.
Where are we at on Dylan Lesko? Lesko was obviously part of the he was part of the Jason Adam trade return from San Diego. 15th overall pick in 22. Tommy John at the time that he was drafted, so he didn't debut until the end of the 23 season. 24 in 19 starts, 84 innings. He had an ERA just shy of 7, and he walked 75 in 84 innings. It actually got worse, as weird as it sounds, when he made his way from Fort Wayne to Bowling Green. He walked 23 in his first 14 as a Rays prospect. And so far this year, he's made 3 appearances out of the bullpen for Bowling Green, 2 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs. He's walked 2. What's going on with him?
Man, I don't know. I was actually talking about this in the car with my girlfriend Ellie, because I was just so fascinated. We were just driving back from Tampa, and I was finishing up the names to watch, and I was just thinking about my conversation with Lesko before the 2024 season, and how confident he was that the command was heading in the right direction after being further removed from Tommy John surgery.
Yep.
And then I remember just seeing the results that were kind of mixed, but then tapering off. And then after the trade, how it really tapered off. And what I was talking about with her is just, it doesn't feel like it's a baseball thing. It almost feels like there may be this mental hurdle there after getting your elbow cut open, being told you were the top, and just knowing you're the top prep prospect in your class, not quite showing that. And then I just thought about it, because it's like, okay, you have this building confidence, but then you're faltering a little bit. And then the team that drafted you in the first round and gave you a ton of money is trading you with others for a reliever. I just wonder what that did for his confidence. And that was kind of what we were talking about. And maybe I'm overthinking that side of it, but I'd imagine, like, I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes. I know what it would do to my confidence. And I mean, this is a guy that baseball's come really easy to for a long time. And it just, the way that it has continuously gone the other direction, it's I don't know. It's hard for me to figure out here.
I don't think you're overthinking it. We had a good conversation with Graham Pauley in Atlanta, the Marlins third baseman, and Pauley said this year he's really back to having fun playing baseball.
You can see it with him for sure too.
Yeah, and I think that that's just a major issue for Padres prospects, because they feel like they're entering a pressure cooker. In Lesko, like, there was not I feel good going into this outing day for him as a Padre farmhand. And then you're traded, you're trying to make a first impression. And if you didn't build confidence previously, and, the trade return, it looks like you're just part of something instead of the main guy going back, then, hey, all of a sudden it's like you're behind the 8-ball confidence-wise, and you're trying to make this first impression when you don't have the confidence, and things snowball a little bit. So it's got to be tough to, kind of compartmentalize and just go about your business. I feel like it's been really hard for him to go about his business to this point. And I feel bad for all of these Padre prospects. I do. It is not a fun organization to come up with whatsoever.
And he's a great dude. I'm rooting for him. He's 21, so he's got time. But the other thing that brought up the mental side of it for me was he's done 27 fastballs this year, Jack, and 18 are balls. And this is a guy that in high school people were saying had one of the smoothest deliveries. I'm sure maybe the Rays are working on things with him too to try to like Jackson Baumeister. The second he came over, they adjust the mechanics and things started working well for him. He started pounding the strike zone. But for a guy like Lesko, like that could have thrown him off a little bit, and he needs to make those adjustments. So I am wondering if like he's kind of caught in between adjustments right now. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I do wonder if it continues in this direction, maybe just put him on the dev list for a little bit, work on things, and see where it goes. The reason why he's still a name to watch, though, is his fastball gets 20 inches of vert. We've seen him at 95. The slider looks good, and he has a potentially elite changeup that we have seen through stretches be elite. So I'm going to give this kid some more time, and I'm definitely rooting for him because he has all the talent in the world to get there.
I saw Peter's quote card. Lesko has a 20-incher. Is that right?
Oh, he was saying that about Jack Dreyer.
Jack Dreyer. Yeah, he's got a 20-incher.
Yeah, Lesko's got a 20-inch fastball, 20-inch fastball, 20-incher.
That's the all-time pause quote card.
That was I had to make sure that was a quote card for the Just Baseball show.
Yeah. Is Colton Ledbetter the 16th best prospect in this system?
As much as I'd love to say yes, no, because there's other guys that are really good.
Actually, no. You know what? I think Ty Johnson is number 16, but Colton Ledbetter might be number 17. But that's my guy, and you point out who I'm missing in the 16 conversation. But Colton Ledbetter,
right there,
Mississippi State kid, second-round pick in 2023. Ledbetter, in his draft year, OPS over 1,000 at Mississippi State. Hops in first full season of pro ball. High A in 2024, 109 games, had an 822 OPS with 16 homers and 34 stolen bases. This guy's like a really good, well-rounded outfielder, and he screams high floor big leaguer to me.
Yeah, it's funny because like the surface level stats scream that, and then you look at the underlying, and it's like like I hope he can keep performing despite the chase and the whiff. But he really did last year. Like it was one of those things where last year the underlying was actually pretty good. But then a little bit later, swing and miss started creeping in a bit. It was more chase than anything. But the power speed combination is crazy. The challenge for him was he started chasing secondaries, specifically spin at a pretty high clip. So that's going to result in, I think, in a bit of a learning curve at the AA level. And I think we're seeing that in the early going. But even when he's swinging and missing, he's still hitting the ball hard at points. He's has the potential to launch home runs. He hit a home run off of Lucas Braun, 112 miles per hour, 450 feet already this year.
Whoa.
So like this guy's, he's got the tools. I agree to like at least give him an opportunity at the big league level. But if the glove can continue to come along, like he could be that Josh Lowe light is what you're kind of dreaming on here. And I just think he's going to be one of those guys that gets up a little bit older. And I think it's that Meisner conversation where it's going to take some time, but if it all does come together, he'll be worth the wait.
He'll be hitting 400 with a 1200 OPS like Meisner.
Exactly.
Cooper Kinney. Kinney was a comp pick out of high school in the Chattanooga area in 2021. Cooper Kinney did the Carson Williams thing where he spends a whole year in low A, whole year in high A, and this year is his whole year in double A as a 22-year-old. Last year, 87 games at Bowling Green, OPS just shy of 850, 10 homers, 63 driven in. He had 32 doubles last year in 87 games. He's got a knack for finding the gap. How is he defensively? Good
enough, like solid at second, and what I liked is you could see him potentially just be able to plug in at third and like shortstop in an absolute emergency. I was really impressed with him in the spring breakout game in the ABs he put together. Like the exit velocities are comfortably above average. He controls his ABs pretty well. I think this is a guy that is another high probability big league infielder that can move around, and I think has the upside of like a second division regular or maybe a little bit more to potentially be that everyday second baseman because he hits the ball damn hard from the left side. So I do like his game, and he was definitely a guy that the more I looked into, the more I like what he was doing, and took a big step forward last year after a good low A, really good high A.
Ty Johnson is the leader in the clubhouse for me for the 16th best prospect in this organization. Ty Johnson was part of that Isaac Paredes deal along with Hunter Biggie and Christopher Morel. Ty Johnson was a guy that I knew next to nothing about. All I knew is that he was a Ball State Cardinal. Chirp, chirp. But Ty Johnson is a guy that was incredibly productive last year in the minor leagues. And the numbers in the minor leagues last year, 84 innings. He struck out 120. That's 13 strikeouts per 9. And walked just 26 and had a 2.79 ERA. He's in double A this year. First time out, allowed some runs, 6 innings, 5 runs, but he K'd 8 and walked just 2. It is a weird release and it's a low release. It's just over 5 feet in terms of release height, but it's like the quarterback put it next to your ear and fire type thing. I mean, it is fascinating to watch.
And it creates a heck of a tunnel. And I think when you do that, because it's just so hard to differentiate out of his hand, he hides the ball so well because of that. He's a reliever at worst and a good one. Like I really feel like if things don't go well, he's a 7th inning guy. Like that's how good the stuff can be. And that's how I think live the arm is. But I know the Rays are excited about potentially being able to develop him. And I mean, the Cubs stole him, I think, from Ball State, and the Rays clearly identified him and targeted him as it looked like he was looking like that steal in the 15th round. So he's definitely one of those guys that was right on the edge of the top 15 and probably at like 16 or 17, because I think Trevor Harrison was 16 for me.
Okay, Trevor Harrison, 19-year-old, 5th round pick in 2023 out of high school in Florida. He's a big guy, 6'4", 225. And last year in his age 18 season, 72 2/3, he struck out 11 hitters per 9 and had a 3.3 ERA. 32 innings of the complex, and then got off for 40 innings at a 3.15 ERA in Charleston. Why do you think he's repeating in low A after 40 good innings last year?
I was thinking about that, and I do notice that the Rays like to go pretty slow, even with their arms. And I think they want him to just continue to lean into the adjustments that he's made. Like he's tweaked his fastball a little bit. He's getting more vert. I know that the command is still a little bit of a question. Like literally last night out, he went 4 2/3, no hit, 5 walks, 5 Ks. So I think it's just finding that confidence in the zone a little bit more. and just taking their time with a guy that, is pretty raw. Didn't really start pitching, I think, with as much intent until later in his high school career. So like, I'm very fascinated by him. I know some in the industry are really, really high on him, have him as like a top 5, top 6 prospect in the system. So I can absolutely see that. But when you got a 6'4", 220-pound pitcher's body, you can get it up to the upper 90s. And the big question is just the secondaries. Like the slider's fine, but when you don't have a definitive third pitch either, like it's still a work in progress there too. So I think they want to see those secondaries get better as well too, because right now it's so fastball heavy. I think he could have that confidence shaken a bit in high A, and that wouldn't help the command.
Got you. Last name to watch is Homer Bush Jr. or Homer Bush. He's Homer Bush on Baseball Reference, but he's Homer Bush Jr. according to the MLB research portal. So I have no idea, but obviously the son of Homer Bush, 4th round pick by San Diego in 2023. He and Lesko were the two main pieces in that Jason Adam deal. He's a physical guy, like 6'2", 200, but he absolutely flies. The power is pretty non-existent. Last year, 6 homers in 114 games, but he had 57 bags, and he got on base at a 360 clip. He's in Double-A this year. I feel like you find out if he can be at least a platoon bat this year, but at the very least, he's speed and defense in the outfield.
Yeah, I think at the very least, you got like this like 5th outfielder, speed up type. But I think he's got a great chance of being a 4th outfielder filling a role, and you can still dream on a little bit the platoon outfielder who or could potentially be a 2nd division center fielder. I think that's a little bit of a lofty dream at this point, but when you have 80 wheels and bloodlines and a great glove in center field in that frame, like you never know what could click and what can happen there. But he's going to be a big leaguer one way or another because of the speed and the defense, and that's what keeps him on this list.
Yep. All right, we are going to get to the top 15 in a moment, but I do want to tell you about our friends at GameTime real quick, because GameTime is great when you're looking for those last-minute ticket options. Like I had an off day in Miami on Monday. I was just doing a little scan, and I was like, okay, what can I do? I can go to the Ice Cats. I can go see the Florida Panthers. I can go see a concert. Where can I look at both of those at the same time? The answer was GameTime, and you do the all-in pricing, and you see the Panthers were really interesting to me. I didn't really want to get in the car. There were some shows that I was kind of interested in, and then I said, wait, you know what? I kind of just want to be an introvert tonight, so I didn't end up doing it on Monday, but GameTime was going to be my vessel to being social, which I am usually anti, but it is the best place to find tickets, and they are the official ticketing partner of the Just Baseball show. I love the customize your spot feature, and the supplemental is kind of inspiration. Like, I don't know. It is really interesting, and you get last-minute tickets. You get zone deals, easy to find MLB tickets and purchase on the GameTime app. They immediately get to you. Reminder, you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. It makes last-minute ticket buying easier than ever. It quickly highlights the best deals in the stadium. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code JUSTBASEBALL, JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off. You want to use it for the NBA playoffs? Go right ahead. I will not be. Bulls are out. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I'm pissed. I wanted the Heat to lose that play, and I wanted my lottery ticket chance at Cooper Flag. But no, one of my favorite things to do with in GameTime's really the only app I can do it is like, if I'm on the fence about going to a game, and I'm like, I'll create some arbitrary number in my head. If the tickets get below this, I'll go. And you can just keep refreshing as the game gets closer and closer and closer. Tickets often go down, down, down with the way GameTime's set up. And if I can snipe one or get a good one of the flash deals, I'll jump on it. And I've ended up going to a lot of great games I was very much on the fence on with that GameTime deal. And if you're on the fence, use that $20 off, and that should probably push you over the other side as well.
Yes, sir.
Number 15, Dominic Keegan. And this is another crazy part because like I love Dom Keegan. I wanted to take a stance and like put him higher. I can't because the other 14 are so good. Keegan's a really good prospect. He's hurt to start the year. He's going to be in AAA. He was not a guy that caught much. We've talked about that at Vanderbilt, like barely caught at all. And then we've finally saw him get the reps more consistently after he's drafted in the 4th round by the Rays in 2022. And he's turned himself into, I think, a passable defender. The arm is a little bit short, So he's going to get run on a little bit. But the receiving has gotten good enough to where I think he can be that 40, 45 grade defender. The blocking has gotten good as well. And you're looking at the offensive side of things. It's plus raw power. It doesn't convert into plus game power because it's more line drives and hard hit ground balls. But that's going to result in high BABIP. The contact rates are solid. I'd like to see the approach be a little bit better. But when you've got like plus to borderline plus EVs, a good enough field to hit, and you can at least get by at catcher, this is like I wish you could like stick in the outfield so I could really put the comp down. But it's kind of this David Fry aspect to him where I think the Rays will happily have him in some sort of roving role, especially as the Yandy Diaz's of the world are going to the wayside. If need doesn't work out, like it's just another bat that can catch a couple days a week and then maybe play first, DH, whatever it may be.
Yeah, Dominic Keegan. I was going to ask you, like, why do you have him at 15? And then I kept on scrolling with the names, and I was like, okay, I understand why you would side with this guy. I understand why you would side with this guy. I understand why you would side with this guy. But I will say, around the deadline last year, and I think it was before the trade deadline, you had Keegan as the 5th best prospect in the Rays system. That speaks to the talent that they have added and the way that some of the other players have gotten better. But that does kind of incorporate a little bit of slipping for Keegan. What is the thing that made him slip even a little bit? Like, I understand that there were added guys. Say that the testament to the others accounts for 8 of the 10 spots that he slipped.
Yeah, I would say that was about right.
Why did he slip the other 2?
It's a very, very good question. It's the game power. Like, I understand that it might still come through. Like, it might happen. But when you're a guy that, okay, the defense isn't going to be an asset. He's gotten to a point where he can get by a catcher though, so it's solid. I want to feel great about putting you in the lineup every single day, knowing like, oh yeah, well this guy can hit 25.
Yeah,
he has the raw power to hit 25. He has the raw power to hit 30. But it just we have such a large sample now in professional baseball of him putting up good numbers, but not getting to the slug. It was 9 home runs in 104 games last year. The average launch angle on hard hit balls was about 8 degrees, excuse me. And then the other thing that was a little alarming for me was the chase rate just kind of creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. Okay. So it was just those two things because he's got to mash to be valuable. Even if he's catching, like he's going to be an offensive minded catcher. So that's a big part of it for me. But that was just why he slipped a little bit. I was hoping that power would trend to 55 grade. And it just still hasn't yet in terms of game juice.
This is why the Rays are the best system in baseball for me. You're talking about Dominic Keegan in such a positive light, and the knock is he's not getting into the raw power in a game power way, and yet he slipped 10 spots. Like, yeah, this has to be the best 15th best prospect in minor league baseball within a given organization.
100%, because and like we're going to talk about several guys ahead of him that were acquired, and that's what bumped him down. But it really would have been a spot or two, as you alluded to, that he would have dropped because of the game power not shining through just yet. He was in the Southern League, and it was still a 130 something WRC plus. Like,
yeah, I mean, he OPS'd over 800 and
35 extra base hits. He had an average exit velocity of 90.5 miles per hour and a 90th percentile of 108. Like, this guy was hitting lasers. So I think it's going to result in a lot more doubles. That's fine. But yeah, I had to start splitting hairs here because we get to 14 and like we love Jackson Baumeister and what he could potentially be here for the Rays, acquired with Matt Horvath and Matthew Etzel in the Zach Eflin deal.
Yeah,
they immediately tweaked some things with him, and it was tangible. His release looked a lot more natural. The fastball velocity ticked up because of that. And I'm seeing that more and more now. Like, guys just like letting them throw how they naturally throw, and the velo gets right back up. So his velo jumped a tick after the trade. He also started filling up the zone way more after the trade. He averaged 93 in the first 10 starts of the year, 94 over the final 10 starts. And you saw a little bit more carry on the fastball and just the ability to spot. Nothing is plus secondary-wise, but if you have an above-average heater now, the command gets better. And now you got an average slider, average cutter, average changeup, and fringe average curveball. Could be a solid 5-starter.
He moves so quickly for a guy that's 6'4", 225. And you mentioned like they tweak some things to get him a little bit more athletic and maybe smoother, more comfortable in his delivery. And he's a quick mover. Like, think about some of those college guys that you see. The golden example is if you watched Carson Fulmer when he was pitching at Vandy, like it was just such a quick windup. It's like, okay, that might be too quick for your own good. This is somewhere in between, I think. Like, I'm thinking about maybe Brady Singer. Brady Singer is a quick delivery. It has a little bit of Brady Singer in it, but it also just kind of flows down the mound. He's a tall and fall guy where he gets his body moving and then he's drifting down the mound, and then the ball just explodes off his fingertips. And for a big guy to move that smoothly down the mound into the explosion is really impressive, and that'll make things really repeatable. And we've seen that in the early goings.
And those mechanics with a 6'4", 225 frame, like he's built to eat innings.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Now that the command's heading in the right direction, he's getting ground balls a little bit too. I feel so good about him being that innings eating 5. And maybe there's a little bit more to dream on than that. He's going to be 22 for the first half of the season.
Yep.
Number 13, Theo Gillen is another testament to the system being good, right? When you have the number 18 overall pick in the draft and one of the top prepsters at the 13 spot. But with Gillen, it's interesting. You know, I do like him a lot, and I like the potential, but he's been very banged up, and that was why he slipped in the draft. There's a lot of people out there who thought he might be one of the best just pure hitters in the entire class. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. The other hesitant aspect of I think teams around him was he was a shortstop through high school, and it was kind of consensus that he was probably going to move off the dirt, and they immediately, the Rays, moved him to the outfield. But that's where his plus speed can play. When you're 6'3", 200, hit over power already, and you can dream on the power coming along, there's a lot to like. But he dealt with, I believe, labrum surgery in 2022 in high school, knee and wrist issues as well, and here he is to start the year on the IL. I am a little bit worried about that, especially when you're saying, hey, kid, go get used to center field.
Yeah, it is. It's a little scary, but it just seemed like every single draft report ever written about him was this guy's a really unique, twitchy athlete. He's a freaky athlete. So you hope that the athleticism doesn't mean that he's, a sports car and, you drive over a pebble and you get hurt. But like the raw tools are the thing that jumped out about him in every single report that you could possibly read going into last year's draft.
Yeah, and that's the projection. And the Rays are very risk tolerant with the draft, and I think they saw a chance here to take a player that could be, what you're dreaming on is above average hit, plus plate discipline, average power, who can motor with plus speed and play center field at a decent clip. That's a great player. That's a potential all-star.
And they shoot for the stars all the time. And sometimes it works like Carson Williams. Sometimes it pretty much works like Xavier Isaac. And then other times it doesn't work. And that's okay. But this guy, it feels like he could trend, especially with how careful they are with their prospects. It could trend towards that Xavier Isaac pretty much all the way work.
And they're going to be very careful with him, I would imagine. And that's good. It's a good thing. Number 12, Ian Seymour. This guy's been one of the best pitchers in minor league baseball so far this year, and dating back to the second half last year. And he is at 12. Part of it is it's a question of how is that stuff going to play at the highest level? It's going to play, but I don't know if it's going to play at the way that it is in AAA, where he's striking out like nearly 30% of batters and dominating to like a low 2s. But there's some really unique things about Seymour that I was actually sent in the Discord. That was sent video from behind home plate where he's going to set up on the inside part of the rubber for the hitter. So if it's a left-handed hitter, he's all the way on the first base side of the rubber. If it's a right-handed hitter, he's all the way on the third base side of the rubber. And with his slight crossfire delivery and his changeup that is gnarly, it creates a really tough angle for hitters. But I thought that was interesting. I haven't seen a guy going from extreme edge of the rubber to extreme edge of the rubber, and especially left on left there. Like it looks like he's throwing from first base. But what's funny is he actually has a little bit of reverse splits going on, where at least in the past, not this year, where he's actually been able to create just as difficult of an angle for righties, which makes me feel really confident about his ability to eat innings as a 5.
100%. he also is one of the few guys that actually does that kind of step back in the windup to start it off.
Yeah. The only time I see that, I feel like, is when I'm playing MLB The Show and it's like an old 1950s player that I'm playing against.
Exactly. Yeah. I saw it the other day. I'm blanking on who was actually doing that, where they step back and then go. It wasn't Merrill Kelly. It was somebody else. Maybe somebody in Washington. Was it Trevor Williams in Washington?
I know Gordon Graceffo does it.
Graceffo does it, but I mean, it makes sense that he can work off both sides of the rubber there, because he's not moving side to side whatsoever. He's stepping back and he's working in a straight line down on the mound. Those guys are really impressive to me, because I understand that you position yourselves to best attack, a certain handedness or a certain part of the plate, but it also, I feel like setting up on a certain part of the plate will help alleviate some of your misses. Like if you find yourself leaving a lot of pitches arm side, you're going to set up on the third base side as a left-handed pitcher, because your arm side misses are then going to find the outside corner. Like you're just doing that for the sake of throwing strikes. And we talked to Jackson Jobe about that, right? He felt like he was leaving a lot of pitches to a certain side of the plate, so he adjusted where he set up on the rubber. With this guy, he's not doing that to alleviate misses. He's doing that because he feels like he can put baseballs on the dot wherever he wants, and he creates optimal angles for him to put the ball at the desired spot on the plate. So this guy may have even better command than you would expect him to have. So it's an underrated 55, because he has the ability to maneuver left to right, and he's always going to be working in a straight line. But this guy has thrown 280 innings in the minor leagues at a 2.5 ERA. I understand that he's throwing in a lot of pitcher-friendly environments, but 280 innings at a 2.5 ERA in the minors is 280 innings at a 2.5 ERA. This guy, and he got better when he went to AAA.
That's the craziest part, is he got better. And I'm thinking about the angles that you create there. And I think you bring up a great point, because he's probably one of those guys where I'm just going to start it here, and I know I have more room. I know it's going to end up over here. You're not exactly aiming for a spot. You're aiming for where you want to start it and knowing where it's going to end up. And a lot of pitchers, that's helped them level up their command to just another point, especially when you've got stuff moving in all directions. That changeup gets 16 inches of arm side. And then he's also thrown a more horizontal breaking sweeper now, and he's got a 2-plane curveball that gets 10 inches glove side as well. But I was thinking about it. Okay, left on left. He likes to throw that changeup left on left too. If he's starting what feels like in your inside pocket, and then that changeup starts over the middle and then buries back down under your hand, disgusting. Then if you're a righty, he throws it right down the middle, and it's going to fade to the outer half and fade away from you. I feel like it makes it a lot easier for him as a pitcher, as you spark that thought for me. It's just because it's like when he sets up on the different sides of the rubber, he can almost aim middle and know that it's going to end up where he wants it to end up. The other thing that's really interesting is he actually starts with his foot, his left foot already sideways on the rubber.
Yeah,
which is nuts. Like
there's no wasted movement with his feet. The step back is to create momentum, and then the left foot literally does not need to move.
He's like preset. It's like a hitter almost being like preset in their slot. But it works. It works for him. He's going to be a good 5-starter. If they need somebody, he is the perfect innings eater to get up there. He's going to miss enough bats. He gets good vert on his fastball. There's built-in deception. Even though it's only low 90s, it works. I really like Seymour. There's a reason why they added him to the 40-man roster.
Yep.
11. Unfortunately, not a ton to talk about because he's hurt, and I think he might miss some time. Yoniel Curet. And it's Curet, right? I always forget before we do the episode.
I think so. I think it's Yoniel Curet.
He, stuff-wise, is crazy. And dealing with a shoulder issue right now, undisclosed, so we don't know the severity of it. I mean, if he got cut, they would tell us. So at least we know it's not.
He's on the 60-day. We know that he's on the 60-day IL with a shoulder issue.
Yeah, he threw one spring training outing, and then he was done. There was a huge shift for him last year as well, where through the first 11 starts, he walked 15% of batters. Then the subsequent 15 starts, he walked 9.7%. And he's a guy that could get away with like a 9-10% walk rate because the stuff is crazy. The fastball, extremely flat VAA, it just takes off out of his hand. It might not be like the induced vertical break off the charts kind of guy, but it just is so flat out of his hand. Even when he's middle, I think it deceives hitters. Then you have a nasty slider that opponents hit 180 against. And then the changeup got better and better and better for him as the year progressed. huge end zone whiff numbers because it tunnels off of the fastball there as well. I mean, he has a chance for, I mean, it's a pitch mix that flashes middle rotation, but the command is below average and now he's banged up. If it weren't for injury, he'd comfortably be in the top 10. I just shoulder thing that I don't know about is tough, 60-day IL, especially coming off of a stretch where it was like the momentum was what probably would have had him in the top 10. Whereas now it's like, okay, he made huge command gains. And then you have a guy coming off of a shoulder issue, which is shoulders affect command, I think, even more than elbow stuff quite often. That's why I'm just kind of in this wait and see phase. But this guy's going to be a good reliever, at least if he's healthy.
Yeah, and I think after a shoulder issue, the ship is probably close to sailing on the starting pitching thing, but then he can just quickly get to a big league bullpen. I don't know how many more starting pitchers the Tampa Bay Rays need, to be honest. I feel like Yoniel Curet moving to the bullpen can be in large part because the Rays have 15 arms at some point that they feel good turning to.
Yeah. And they're going to give him a chance to start because he had a 1.1 ERA.
Yeah, you
over
can.
Final 73 2/3. But I agree. I do think that ultimately making him like an elite, like Uceta type of reliever, which I wouldn't rule out, is probably the best path here, depending on the severity of the shoulder side of things too. And his delivery is kind of high effort, and it does look a little strenuous on the shoulder. So it is just something worth monitoring. But this is a disgusting arm with big time in zone whiff numbers. That's going to make him successful without a doubt.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the top 10, which starts with Brayden Taylor. I know that'll probably upset some Rays fans, but before that, quick break. So I would say Brayden Taylor is polarizing, but he's honestly not, because I feel like everywhere else he's like a top 100 prospect. So I'm not going to say polarizing if we're the only ones on the other side of it. I think he's a good player. I'll be honest, though. This is one of those instances where I don't really understand why he's a top 100 guy. I don't want to disparage him because he's 10 and we just gassed up 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and names to watch. But I know that naturally the question is going to be, well, why is he so low, even though we're talking about the number 10 prospect in a really good system?
Yeah. And why is the answer?
So there's a few things here. If you just look at like we're talking about KPIs, right? Just like key performance indicators here. Like,
sure.
I don't think he really checks any of the boxes there. But what's interesting is you have a guy here that had a power breakout in college. Like as he progressed, started to hit the ball a lot harder there, and elevate more was the big thing that helped him hit those 23 home runs as a junior at TCU. And then I was really interested to see if he could maintain that power in pro ball, and he did. So I think that was why people were like, okay, this is everything that we were hoping for. But I think a lot of that power was very dependent on outslug the EVs, pull the ball in the air, and like that'll work to a degree. But we talk about it like for those types of players, you generally need to make a lot of contact. And he's got some swing and miss issues, especially against secondaries. And when you look at the mechanics too, it's kind of a unique move that I think can make it difficult for him to consistently be adjustable in the box. And he really struggles to hit pitches outside of the zone as well when he does chase. The good news is he doesn't chase, but even being able to adjust to pitches in the zone that may have fooled him a little bit, like breaking balls and secondaries. Against non-fastballs last year, he had a 57% contact rate. And I'm just a little bit concerned about that, given the fact that his average exit velocity is around 87 miles per hour in 2024. And his 90th percentile was, I think, about 101 miles per hour. So when you're posting below average EVs and then below average contact rates, I understand that he produced. Big part of that was being patient and hitting fastballs really hard. He had 1,000 OPS against fastballs. But if he's not able to pull the ball in the air as consistently, and he had a 26% ground ball rate, so like he was pulling the ball in the air and getting the most out of it. But if your contact rates are already fringy and below average against breaking balls, and the EVs are fringy to below average, how is that success going to translate at the upper levels? I'm concerned that it won't.
So the gist of what you just described is you feel like there's minimal room for error compared to most other top 100 third base prospects.
Exactly. It's tweenerish, and he gets the most out of his game with great instincts. He's turned himself into a solid defender at third, and they've even plugged him in at shortstop and pinches. And I think it's like, to me, he looks like a utility infielder that can keep himself in the lineup every day potentially, or at least against righties. But when you have the struggles that he has against secondaries and then you got to be so perfect. It's kind of that tweener profile where it's like, okay, is he hit or is he power? Well, it's technically power right now, but the EVs aren't great. So he's going to need to hit to get to that power. And I think that pullback with his hands, that late move, can result in some in-between timing against secondaries. And I mean, that was a challenge for him. So the exact numbers against non-fastballs last year, it was he hit low 200s, OPS in the low 600s, and yeah, that contact rate being way down there. So, if you eliminate cutters, which I think you kind of have to because a lot of fastballs
Cutters are fastballs, yeah.
194, 284, 330. I don't know. He's got time. He's 22. I think he could be a really solid player. I just don't know if I see slam dunk top 100 prospect for a guy that nothing really stands out. Like there's not one clear like impact tool other than the plate discipline. But I do think that he can, hit 15 to 20 homers. It might be a low batting average, high OBP. He's going to be savvy on the base paths, grab 15, 20 bags. And if he can move around the infield, like that's a good player. I see 45 plus future value though, not 50.
Got it. Now, what I will say is we're 148 games into his minor league career at this point, and he's OPSing 850 with 32 doubles, 11 triples out of nowhere, 27 homers, and 41 stolen bases, and it's high efficiency. He's 41 for 49. So I understand that he's striking out a lot, but he's walking a lot. He's getting on base at a 360 clip in his minor league career, and all of the baseline offensive production has been great. So when you look at the standard stats, he is absolutely a top 100 prospect. But once you get into the nitty gritty and the weeds that you just walked us through, like you start to understand why that could start to bottom out, or I guess fizzle out when you get to AAA in the big leagues,
or AA. I mean, that's what I was concerned about.
Like he's been awesome in AA to this point.
If you combine the start of this year and the end of last year, you have 39 games at AA where he slashed 220, 304, 447 with a 38% K rate.
And that's boost by the postseason. In regular season AA baseball, 39 games, he's hitting 192.
Oh yeah, true. I did include the postseason there. Good call. Like, and again, he's got time. He's got time to figure it out. I think he'd be a good player. I'm not trying to knock him. Like, he can move around the infield. The fact that he's getting by at shortstop and not looking bad there is, I think, a testament to how much he's improved athletically and just defensively in general. But I think it's also the reason that they're putting him there and moving him around is I would imagine they see him more as this like infield utility piece than, a third base everyday masher type, because it's going to be hard to do that unless if they're calling their games, if they're calling Steinbrenner field home a little bit longer than we anticipate, then maybe he can capitalize on the short porch more. But I don't know. I think he's a solid option, but I don't know if I see above average regular just yet. Wider range of outcomes here. Brailer Guerrero checks in at 9. Guerrero could be an all-star. Guerrero could fizzle out in the minor leagues. And I think more than talent ability, it's going to be up to health. And Guerrero missed most of 2023 with a torn labrum, I believe it was, or some sort of shoulder issue. And then he came back in 2024, had a ridiculously impressive 27 games at the Florida Complex League, which, I mean, I know it's just the complex, but he was 17 years old at the start of the season off of shoulder surgery. And in 27 games hit 323, 451, 465, then re-aggravated that shoulder. So it's just wait and see here. He's still 18. The power is ridiculous. I mean, what he can already do in terms of impact. I mean, I watched him hit a ball 108, 425 feet to dead center before his 18th birthday. He's patient. He hammers fastballs, and he moves pretty well for a guy of his build. He's going to be a corner outfielder, but they're even still throwing him out there in center. He's a really, really fun player. It's just going to come down to health. But, I mean, there's a reason why the Rays gave him $3.7 million in 23.
Yep. And Brailer Guerrero, I'm just trying to read a little bit more on this shoulder issue. Like, it is that one shoulder, and you hope that it isn't a situation that, and obviously it's not hurting Corbin Carroll, but that shoulder was like a nagging thing for Carroll, and that not only caused him to miss some games in his Rookie of the Year campaign in 23, but it made him, a pretty bad offensive player last year in the front half of 24, but then he found a way to mitigate that, and he was one of the best hitters in baseball in the second half, and here he is totally healthy. You hope that he takes care of it and is totally healthy, but shoulder things like don't go away if you don't take great care of it and give yourself some time. Time is on his side, but he hasn't played yet in 2025. I bet Tampa is just nipping this thing in the bud. Like, hey, you're not playing until you feel awesome, and when he does feel awesome, might play awesome.
Yeah, and then just take your time at the complex. We're not going to have you taking high stress swings just yet. Easy in, and we go. He's 18. He was ahead of schedule, so that's what helps. But yeah, I imagine they're going to be very careful because that's a big investment for them. That's more than they invest in free agency a lot of times. So, they're going to be careful there. But against fastballs, this is hilarious. 4-seam fastballs. Let's go both. So to make the sample a little bit larger. In those 27 games against 4-seamers and sinkers, he saw 222 of them, and he slashed 463, nice. 614, 707.
Sure.
So yeah, he's got to improve against secondaries, but to be that good against fastballs out of the gate, yeah, he can be an absolute monster. So hopefully he's healthy and ready to go sometime soon, and I think we'll probably see him ready to go as the start of the complex season goes.
Yep.
Number 8. And we're already in the 50 future value tier. And I don't know if there's another farm system that has, or we were with Brailer Guerrero at 9. I don't think there's another system that has 9 50 future value guys. And yeah, there's guys in the back end of the top 100 that are 50 future value too. So it's like you're splitting hairs really between sometimes the 120th ranked prospect in the top, that would be in the top 100 consideration, the 100th guy. And the Rays system's a perfect example of that, where like Brailer Guerrero was just missed. He fell out. He was a top 100 guy before, just fell out because of the shoulder recurrence there. And Tre Morgan was a just missed guy, but they're both right in the same future value tier as other guys that are on the list. Morgan is a really unique archetype. And I know you enjoyed seeing him in the Arizona Fall League, but it's a weird hit tool grade to give out because what's funny is if you look at overall contact rate, it's fine. Like it's not like plus, it's good, but with 2 strikes, it's maybe the best contact rate in professional baseball. So that's the funny thing. 83% in zone contact rate in all counts, and then 93% in zone contact rate with 2 strikes. He spreads out and he becomes a 70 grade hitter with 2 strikes. Early in counts, he's trying to let it eat. And I think you and I really started to appreciate that. And it made me understand why there's a lot more whiff early in counts, because he doesn't give a crap if he goes to 2 strikes. We saw him take some big hacks early in counts. And I think that's him realizing that's how I'm going to get to my 15 homers. Is I'm going to need to leverage and let it eat early. Would you say that was one of the bigger surprises when you saw him in the Fall League, was like the big hacks?
I think so, because you expect him to be this slap the ball around the ballpark type of guy. And at LSU, he had 9 homers. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, with Meadow, that'll make sense, right? And then he gives you 10 homers in 2024. And it's like, well, how do you do that if he's a slap hitting first baseman? It's because he's not a slap hitter for 2/3 of the count. And you're right. Like, I think the initial thought when you watch it live and you see him work in AB, you're like, wait, what happened to the identity that Tre Morgan created? And then you see it with 2 strikes and you say, I guess that makes a lot of sense that you would turn into a slap hitter with 2 strikes if you feel comfortable getting to 2 strikes. But I mean, you want to let it eat. Like, how fun is that if Tre Morgan is hitting 2-0 singles? You know what I mean? Like, And how valuable is that? I don't think it's very valuable for a first baseman, corner outfielder. If he can hit the 2-0 homer and he can hit the 0-2 slap single or the 2-2 slap single, that's as valuable an offensive piece as there is.
And there's just you don't have that malleability. It just doesn't exist. It's too hard. Like I don't know if I've really seen a hitter that's that adjustable in the box like that. He spreads out, he chokes up, and he pokes it.
And like the only one that does it effectively right now, I think, is Harper. Like, he's the only one that does it well. But obviously Harper has prodigious power, and then when he's still slap hitting, he can hit the ball out of the ballpark with 2 strikes.
Exactly. Just to see the shift where it's like, okay, this guy might have average power in advantage counts, and then in other counts, it's like he's purely just slapping the ball around the yard. It's the out of zone contact ability too. 77% out of zone contact with 2 strikes is crazy. Like, you're going to really struggle to punch him out. And that's why he walked as much as he struck out. If you include the Fall League, 56 walks, 56 strikeouts. But I like that he's trying to get to that slug early, because he has to as a first baseman. They've put him in the outfield a little bit. I don't really see the point other than if you wanted to just keep him in the lineup. There's a potential 80 grade defender at first base and a fringy defender at best in the outfield. So that's the other side of it. A wizard defensively. There's things that I think he does that we still haven't even properly figured out how to measure. Like there should be picks, runs saved at first base. Like they should be able to see the throws that are up the line or way off that are tough to pick. That, I mean, you're not only creating an out, you're preventing an extra 90 feet oftentimes. Like, that's one of the more undervalued arts, I think. And he gets to everything. He stretches for everything. His range is crazy. Like it is like it's like, he might be the closest thing to Keith Hernandez at first base, though, like we've had, which is a crazy comp. But like it really, like I can't think of another first baseman that's like on the move, turning double plays like that and doing the things that he does. He's got a rocket for an arm too. So it's really fun to watch him do his thing. He missed the first like week of the season or first few days because he was hurt, but he's already back. 2 knocks the other day already, by the way. 31 doubles in 119 games if you include the AFL. Like it's really impressive stuff. And he'll sneaky grab some stolen bases as well.
The only one to me that isn't Keith Hernandez that jumps out is Anthony Rizzo. Just the way that Rizzo played first base defense. Like Tre Morgan is very Rizzo over there, but I actually think Keith is a better comp because Keith wasn't a home run hitter. Like
it's funny. It like that might be the like player comp.
Yeah.
That you're dreaming on, of course, the ceiling of everything and what you want. But like, if it's like a Keith Hernandez light, I mean, that works, right? That was what I was going to ask you. What kind of, like, we don't really find an archetype like this, though, where it's glove first baseman, and immediately you go like, ugh, why would I want that?
Right.
But
it's like, really Evan White, though. Nick Prado. How did that work? Yeah. You go to all those guys that we were told had a great glove.
But glove first baseman with hit over power. When have you seen that?
So I think that Cronenworth contract doesn't look terrible if he's hitting a little bit.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the best example. If St. Louis didn't do the Wilson Contreras thing at first base and they had Donovan play first full time, I think that's the kind of player you see with Tre Morgan.
100%. The interesting thing is those guys can move at least because they throw with their right hand. So then they can play other spots. So like, it really is like it's an archetype that's pretty much ignored, and you have to be way, way off the charts, I think, defensively and bat to ball wise to be able to carry the first base profile.
Yeah.
And I think he can. I think it's going to be the most unconventional potential 3-WAR first baseman that we've seen. And that's fun. Like shake it up a little bit.
Honestly, I like the closest thing right now is Arise. And Arise is an okay defensive first baseman, but Tre Morgan's a better first baseman. He's an elite defensive first baseman. And Arise obviously doesn't swing and miss, but Morgan walks a little bit and he'll hit more homers. Like, I think when you look at WAR output, it's going to look pretty similar to Luis Arise.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just so funny how you can get to the same number in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Number 7, Gary Gill. Right-hander. He's going to have a big year. And he had a great year last year. It was kind of his coming out party, but I love where the stuff's at this year. And anytime you see a Ray's arm with some adjusted stuff and looking like he's leaning into the arsenal a little bit more and optimizing it, he looks really damn good. And Gill, cold weather guy, right? New York area, 6th round pick. That, I mean, did you even know who he was before last year? I didn't.
No, I didn't know who he was in like June of last year.
Yeah.
And then it was like, who's this guy with a 1 ERA?
Yep.
20-year-old from New Rochelle, New York. That is Iona, by the way. That's like Iona backyard. So that's just outside of New York City. But this guy last year, 108 2/3 innings, had a 3.15 ERA in low A. I didn't know who he was until I did the Spencer Geesting, like that whole thing where it's like, who's balling right now? I found out who Gary Gill was when I found out who Geesting and Brad Lord were.
And he's better than both of them by a lot.
Yes.
Which is great. Him and Gill, and also great baseball.
Is it
name.
Hill or is it Gill Hill?
That is a great.
Like, what's his last name? Is it Gill
Hill
or is it Hill?
It's Gary Gill.
Gary Gill. Okay.
Which is a great baseball name.
It's a great name.
Great athlete on the mound. Great command. Him and Santiago Suarez together in the same rotation. It is just so much fun to watch, and it's so refreshing. It's just work quick, athletic on the mound, throw strikes. And I mean, this was a great scouting find by them, and they've just already continued to get more out of him. His fastball's now, through his first couple starts this year, averaging 95 or 94.5. The slider looks really good. He's mixing in a sinker as well. That's getting ground balls when he needs them. And then he's got the curveball that flashes above average and a decent changeup. Nothing's going to jump off the page. Really high probability number 4 starter, I think, that could eat a ton of innings because he's so athletic and fill up the zone.
Yeah.
But he's also 20, so there might be more stuff in there. He's going to be 20 for the entirety of the season, so he could trend closer to middle rotation upside.
Yeah, and you would like to see what trend better? Like maybe a better feel for a slider, right? Because it's
just a third, a second secondary. Because he's got, I wouldn't say third pitch because he's got the sinker and the 4-seamer, but I would say just something else other than the slider, so you can get them off of the fastball slider cadence. And the curveball hasn't been there in the early going this year, and he's barely thrown the changeup. So that's the thing to monitor. But the feel for the sinker does hedge that some and allows him to get ground balls.
Yeah.
Number 6, another fantastic right-hander that is young and fills up the zone. Santiago Suarez. Suarez acquired from the Marlins, and I remember when the Marlins signed him and he was coming up, that was a name that was really buzzy. People were really excited about some of the things that he was showing at the complex, but the Marlins had the opportunity to get an Xavier Edwards, and I think it's going to be one of those win-win trades here. But Suarez, I mean, the ability to fill up the zone for him at such a young age, where you look at what he did last year, I mean, 5% walk rate, 72% strike rate on the fastball. You'd like to see a little bit more stuff, maybe a little bit more swing and miss offerings, but the cutter has come along to where that looks like it can be a plus pitch. And then he's got the slider that looks like it's a fine mix in pitch. The curveball flashes above average, and then kind of the taste breaking changeup. But if you've got a plus heater, and that's the thing that's really trended well for him, is the heater looks like it could be plus now. He's getting good vert on it, and it's ticked up now to 95. He's 20 years old. He just turned 20. He averaged 94.8 last year at 19 years old. He still might not even be a finished product or anything close to it.
Yeah. That has the opportunity, that trade has the opportunity to be a mutually beneficial deal. Santiago Suarez was initially signed by the Marlins. Suarez and Marcus Johnson went from Miami to Tampa for Chagua and Xavier Edwards. So the fact that the Marlins got Xavier Edwards out of that, and the fact that the Rays got Santiago Suarez out of that, I mean, both sides kind of knew what they were doing here, huh? But that's really cool. And it is interesting. Like, and I understand that you've got Suarez is just a beat better than Gill Hill at this point. Why do you feel like he's got that edge? Like, just the strike rate on everything is a little bit better?
Strike rate on everything, and then fastball quality. Like, and Gill Hill's fastball is solid, but if we're talking about command guys, Suarez is a heater that could be plus. You give me a plus heater, he's getting 19 vert from a standard release height. It's slightly below average release height. So if you're getting plus vert and you're able to spot that, his floor just becomes so much higher. The days where the secondaries aren't there, he's going to be able to still be effective because he's getting plus vert and picking you apart. Then the cutter working off of that, I think, is a little bit ahead of maybe everything besides the slider. Gill Hill's slider is probably the best of the secondaries between these two. But then you also have the slider and the curveball looking a little bit more usable. So I think Suarez is a little bit of a deeper bag, but it mostly was the better fastball, which is 95 with plus carry. Like it's if he's holding this uptick in velo, it's a plus fastball for me going forward. And that's going to really, I think, ensure that he's a back end starter. And if there's a little bit more refinement of that curveball, could be a 3 starter as well.
Cool.
Number 5, Aidan Smith. This is a fun prospect. This is a polarizing prospect, though, for whatever reason. I don't really know why. I went into it saying, like, okay, I'm going to try to find some more negatives because, like, there are some people out there who, there's people out there that have him as a top 100 prospect. There's people out there that don't have him as a top 10 prospect in this system. I think he's closer to top 100 range because the glove is so good. He was acquired in that Randy Arozarena deal. 20 years old. Another guy that you take a really good drafting org, the Mariners, who gave him $1.2 million to sign him away from college in the 4th round. and then the Rays identify him from the Mariners and say, yeah, we actually want him too. Yeah. It could be a mutually beneficial trade as well. We're going to talk about the other guy in the deal in a moment too, but he's a plus runner who can stick in center and play a good center. If we were just talking about the bat, I would understand the polarizing aspect of it, but the glove and speed to me makes it a point where you can be so much more patient with the bat. I'm surprised he's this polarizing.
This could be a flat-out win for Tampa, and I think we're getting close to flat-out win. Obviously, you need to see them produce at the major league level, but this could be Randy could do whatever he wants in Seattle, and this may be a huge win because of what you would have from the other guy in this deal and from Aidan Smith. And I'm with you. Like, speed and defense elevate the floor to a place that you wouldn't, think twice about putting him in the top 100. Was he in the preseason top 100?
He just missed. Just missed.
I feel like we could be looking at a midseason update where we have 7 top 100 guys from the Rays system.
No doubt in my mind. And I think we probably will. Look at the stolen base numbers on this guy too.
Yeah, Aidan Smith so far in his minor league career in 130 games has 53 bags. Last year in 98 games, he was 41 for 47 in the stolen base department, and he's gotten off to a really good start so far with Bowling Green. Hasn't hit a homer yet, but hitting .325 through his first 10 games and 6 for 7 in the stolen base department.
There's room for more strength too. Yes, there's some whiff concern. But that's the thing is, like, if he's a plus defender in center field, I'll pallet the whiff. There's some whiff concern, but what really pushes him above for me is how good the plate discipline is. At 19 years old last year, out of high school, he's running a chase rate south of 20%, and he flashed an exit velocity as high as 113. So if you have the potential for plus raw power, you're a great defender in center field with great speed and you're patient. He could hit 240, 230. And still be a 3-4 win player if it all works out. So that's why I'm not as worried about the hit tool. He's going to need to start converting that into more game power, but it's not a huge rush for that. He's 20. So I'm excited to see how it all comes together. But I do think high A will be a little bit of an adjustment for him. And it has been from a swing decision perspective. But as you mentioned, he's still getting his and he's still been productive.
Yep.
Number 4, the other guy in the trade, Brody Hopkins. I know you absolutely love him. We've talked about him a ton on the show. Right-hander who, if I'm not mistaken, had a rough outing the other day. But at the end of the day, you can't teach the things that he can do on the mound. We just talked about him as a newcomer on the top 100 list. So if you want to hear more on Hopkins, like we went in further detail, check out the top 100 breakdown episodes because we really went through the story of converting from the outfield, really being a two-way guy, but if anything, maybe focusing a little bit more on hitting, to then focusing more on pitching, but walking like a batter per inning, cuts that to a fraction of it with the Mariners, then gets traded, still learning to fill up the zone more, but you can't teach upper 90s from an outlier release from a 6'3" frame with ridiculous athleticism. It's just going to come down to, can he mitigate the walk rate enough?
Yeah, and so far, early returns in 2025 say not yet. 14 in the third, he's walked 10. Coming off a start against Rocket City in Montgomery, where he allowed 5 runs in, I want to say 4 innings. I'm pulling this up
5.
here. Yeah, 5 innings, 5 runs, 5 hits, and 5 innings. He only struck out 3. This guy is a physical specimen, and he pitches like a physical specimen too. I mean, he just looks like such a ridiculous athlete, and how far down he gets on the mound is egregious. Do you have the extension numbers?
So extension-wise, on the fastball, it's close to 7 feet.
Yeah, I mean, he is just reaching as far as you possibly can. And obviously, you've got a guy like, I just watched A.J. Puck close out 2 games for Arizona. He's Kevin Durant. Like, he's 6'7", 6'8", 250. Of course, he's going to have 7 feet of extension. Glasnow, same deal. He's 6'8". Of course, he's going to have 7 feet of extension. But Hopkins is 6'4". Like, it's the closest thing to the Wheeler sensation of extension that you've got, because Wheeler has better fastball characteristics, obviously, but from a low release, he's releasing from about 53 feet. So 96 is going to feel like 98, 99.
And it's a 5'1" release. So if you're getting 16 vert from a 5'1" release, if he has any idea where it's like going consistently,
and you're throwing it from 53 feet away,
it's going to be ridiculous. The VAA from that release, because think about the vert that he's getting from where he's releasing from, because the lower you release it, the harder it is to induce vertical break. it's a 3.7 VAA. Like that's insane. So essentially everything looks like it's rising. But then as you start to try to gear up for the top, he's going to hit you with the two-seamer that gets 14 inches of horizontal. And then he's also got a slider that gets 16 inches of horizontal the other way. And his changeup gets 18 toward the arm side. Everything is moving so much that I think that's why he is struggling with the command. And he might just need to be a guy that aims right down the middle and lets the stuff take care of it, because no one's going to hit it that well.
No, and that is the Kyle Snyder special. I mean, that's what Glasnow did. Watching McClanahan, it seems like that's what McClanahan does sometimes too. Kyle Snyder feels very comfortable with misses taking guys to the corners, and Brody Hopkins, his misses should take his pitches to the corners.
I mean, opponents had a 584 OPS against him last year, so it's just really comes down to the free passes. Number 3, Chandler Simpson. Simpson's a guy that could get an opportunity at the big league level, but it might be a little delayed now after the breakout of Cam Meisner and the impressive performance of Jake Mangum. But out of the gate, it's been really solid for Simpson. You'd like to see a little bit more like slug or OBP. I would say OBP more than anything, because it's just, how are you going to get that OPS over 700? He's hitting 301, but the OPS is 653, because in AAA, you're just not putting this guy on base. You just don't want to do it. If you walk him, it's a double and potentially a triple, because he's just going to grab 2 bags. But so far in AAA, it's a lot of the same underlying numbers. 94% in-zone contact rate is just ridiculous. He's spraying the ball all over the yard. But this is a reminder, though, so far this year, is that, hey, for him to be a consistently above average big leaguer, he's got to get on base at a high clip or find those doubles one way or another. He has 22 hits, 21 are singles, 1 triple, and that's why the OPS is at 650. And he's not going to be a plus defender in center. So those are the things that you're kind of monitoring here. But you can't teach plus hit. You can't teach 80 wheels. And to go with good plate discipline to go with that, it's a really ideal table set type of profile.
What's it going to take for him to become a 50 to 55 grade defensive player?
A lot of reads. What's weird for me is it seems like he just doesn't track the ball that well. It's gotten better. But
there are some guys like that. I mean, I just watched Corbin Carroll. Like, Carroll does not track the ball well.
No.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there are physical freaks that you think, oh, you could be a 70 grade defender, but like they just don't have that first read.
But Carroll's gotten to a point where he just lets his closing speed work for him. His reads aren't great. Like, if he could get to that range, he'd be fine. Like, Simpson would be good. But I think it's just getting the reads to a point where you can just at least let your closing speed eat and trust it, instead of, I think when guys aren't trusting their reads, you're not going to be able to kick it into the top gear because you're unsure. So you're not able to use that closing speed as an advantage. So I think you're almost better off waiting, getting a little bit worse of a jump, and then using your 80 grade closing speed. So I think just him learning how to leverage the speed more. I'm not going to count out him getting to a average defender slightly above in center field, but that's the only reason why he's in AAA still, is he's got to get that going, and it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
The big thing for him, though, is can you find the gaps a little bit more and walk? And with a 70 hit and 80 run, he's going to be a solid big leaguer, and that's why he's in the top 100 list.
Yep.
Number 2, Xavier Isaac. I think he's dealing with a little bit of an injury as well, and so we're just kind of waiting for him to get more consistent action, but he finally did return on the 15th. I think it was 0 for 2 with 2 walks, but then the very next day, pair of doubles. And I think you'll love to see that. And then a hitless day after that, but he only struck out once and walked. So the main thing to watch with him as he tries to settle into AA, 21 years old, one of the more unique, I think, and exciting power bats in the minor leagues, is how much can he mitigate the whiff? Because when he got to AA, the whiff really, really skyrocketed. But this is somebody that has the adjustability and the athleticism in the box for a 6'4", 240-pound guy to be able to, I think, hit enough. Yeah. We have seen him put on some incredible offensive displays in person. And it's easy to forget that he's still just 21 years old. Would you say he's put some of the best swings on balls or most impressive swings on balls you've seen in person?
Absolutely.
From a prospect, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I even think big leaguer too. Like there are very few big leaguers that have put swings on baseballs in person that I'm like, whoa, this is next level. I think, the guys that immediately come to mind, a couple of the swings that I saw Roman Anthony take this spring, I was like, you're kidding me. James Wood, same deal. Carroll this past week, I was like, that's gross. Jordan, but like Xavier Isaac, and obviously Roman is not Carroll, is not Jordan. Xavier Isaac is not any of these guys at this point right now, but just in terms of the wow factor from a swing, he's up there.
Yep. There's a lot of Casas in there, and for better and for worse, as you see, when Casas is hot, he's one of the hottest hitters on the planet, and you can't get him out. When he's cold, it's frustrating, and it can be, and we're seeing it in the early going this year.
Okay, so another one that just jumped to the forefront of my mind, and like I'm not saying that Isaac is going to be this guy either, but another one that had the wow factor for me, Joey Gallo was on rehab in Indianapolis 2 years ago, and Gallo, watching him take batting practice, I was like, whoa, there's wow factor there. But obviously that guy whiffs more than anybody in the history of Major League Baseball. So I'm just saying, just so you don't think I'm clumping Xavier Isaac with Yordan Alvarez and Corbin Carroll and Roman Anthony, like Gallo has that wow sensation too.
Yeah.
There are just massive power bats that can put swings on that make your jaw drop. And Isaac is that kind of guy.
What's crazy with Isaac though is he has some adjustability there. So that's why I want to see that whiff decrease. Like I'll send you some swings. I sent you some last year where pitch was like 2 balls in and he's like one arm swings and hits it 112 out to right field. Or like the one that we saw when we were at spring breakout this time last year, a little bit earlier last year, where he hit a no doubter to center.
And he like thunderclapped the bat on his back.
Yeah, it was so much whip that you literally heard it. I thought he hurt his back, but the backside swing, or it was a B swing, and it was a no doubter the other way. And we're just like, holy crap. You can't really teach that whip. You can't teach that athleticism for 6'4", 240. And he hit fastballs to a 328, 451, 667 clip last year. It's an 11-18 OPS, a 70% hard hit rate against fastballs in a 117 game sample. I mean, that's outrageous. So the thing to monitor is hitting breaking balls and hitting spin. And for a 20-year-old high school guy, that is often a learning curve. So we'll see how that looks this year. But with the plate discipline getting better as well, I think he's going to start to settle in at Double-A, and I'm really excited because if it all comes together, he can hit 40. It really is all the things we said about Casas kind of settling right in here with him, with maybe a little bit more swing and miss concern. But I'd argue that there might even be more raw power somehow. Yep. So, I mean, when you look at what what Isaac did last year, 90th percentile of 108 miles per hour.
Yeah,
I mean, that's as good as just about anybody, and there might even be more in there.
Yep.
Number 1, no suspense here, and hopefully we won't be talking about him as a prospect by the end of this season. Carson Williams. Had him on the show. Definitely check out that episode if you are just finding us here on YouTube or whatever it may be. He was an awesome guest, and I mean, it just only made me buy into him more in terms of the makeup and the way he goes about his business. But getting his feet wet in AAA right now, as expected, it's going to be an adjustment for him. Already making stellar defensive plays. I think he has the edge as the best defensive shortstop in minor league baseball right now. You have Starlene Caba on his heels, but I'm going to give it to the guy that's doing it at the upper levels right now. Yeah. But what he can do defensively already makes him, I think, a really, really high floor option there, because he could be a 30-grade hitter, and with plus power and a patient approach, he's going to be able to be a valuable piece for you, even if he's leading the league in strikeouts. The question, though, is how much is he going to strike out? Because that's going to determine whether he's perennial all-star or frustrating but really solid above average regular. And he's got plenty of time as a 21-year-old. But that is the big question, I think. It's just how much is he going to hit? I love the things that he talked to us about approach-wise, and that gives me a lot more confidence there. It just comes down to how does he get to that offensive ceiling, and what is that ceiling necessarily?
The other big thing is, when are we done with the Taylor Walls thing? He's got a 48 WRC plus. Like
I know Carson Williams hitting 184 through 16 games. I would take him up there right now. He's a better defender than Walls too.
Absolutely. And Walls, he's just been around for 5 years at this point. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, I think my only thing with Carson Williams is when do we see him over Taylor Walls? And I understand that the offensive struggles could be there right now for Carson. To be honest, I don't really care. I think as soon as he has a hot 2 weeks, you just get him up there. And I have no idea what their plan is with him. I hope it's not whole year in AAA.
I'm worried it is. Hassan Kim's on the way.
Who is? Hassan Kim is on the way, so that could help. And I don't know. You've got some options like Cabby can still play the middle infield, and Cabby has been excellent.
I'd imagine they do the whole year thing with Caminero. How long? I know he was banged up, but like, yeah. And I think you can hide behind it a lot easier when he's striking out north of 30% of the time.
Yeah,
but he did everything you wanted to see last year. He cut the strikeout rate. He upped the walk rate. He was productive in the most difficult hitter environment in baseball last year. And I mean, and hit 20 home runs. So there's so much to like there. If it's anywhere north of 800 OPS wise with his glove and his ability to grab bags here and there too, he could be a 4+ win guy really easily. It's like the Dansby Swanson thing. It would just be achieved differently where he might not put up the OBP or batting average of Dansby Swanson. So it might be 100 WRC plus, but it'll be 4+ wins because he's such a savant defensively and still does give you offensive value. But then you can keep dreaming on what it could be. Yeah.
And probably better overall numbers in the power department for Carson Williams when it's all said and done than Dansby. So you get to that in a different way.
Exactly. So this is a guy that could hit 220 and be an above average everyday shortstop. And that's why he's one of the top prospects in Major League Baseball. But if he hits 240, he could be a perennial all-star.
Yep.
That'll do it for this system. We've got, I think, 7 left. I'm excited. We're almost
7 left. Yeah, let me pull this up.
It's on MLB. It's on justbaseball.com. Holy crap. It's on justbaseball.com where you can follow along. I'm trying to figure out who we're going to do next. I'm deciding. I have not fully decided yet, but I'll keep you posted on that front.
8 left. So the other 4 in the AL East: Baltimore, Boston, New York, and Toronto. And then you have the Angels and the Astros, and then you have the Padres and the Giants.
We should probably button up a division before we keep churning through the AL East, right? I just really wanted to do Rays because it was just fun. But
Angels Astros, I feel like Angels Astros could be next.
Just get it over with, rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. They're getting a little bit better, both of them. So that is nice. We will be probably doing one of those next week if I can get through that farm system in time, because it's tough when you don't have guys that were top 100, because then you're doing all new write-ups. But I'm excited to finish them out and honestly dive into those systems that I haven't been paying as much attention to, and there's always talent within them. So keep an eye out for that. Reminder to join our Discord. We would love to have you. I'm answering prospect questions in there all the time and dropping the top prospect list for each team early in there, so people know the rankings and everything, and then answering questions as this goes out in there. So the link to join that is in the episode description. Really appreciate you. It's the best way to support Just Baseball and the Call Up. As always, thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and look forward to talking prospects with you next week. We'll be talking Luke Keeshaw's MLB debut and Edgar Caro as well.